Neuroimmunomodulators? For me, this is fundamental because pain in the musculoskeletal system comes through the nervous system. So the better we have the nervous system modulated, the better what is happening. Here, we're addressing it in patches. We're treating it in a completely separate way. But I want to tell you that I suppose you'll understand that everything is interconnected. Nothing we do in the body fails to have an impact on another system. We're talking about the psychoneuroimmunoendocrine system. Everything works together. So the more we have all these factors regulated, the more important vitamin D and omega-3 will be for pain management. Omega-3 is divided into two substances that have horrible names. It's eicosapentaenoic acid and docosahexaenoic acid. It's terrifying, and both are fat-soluble. Why am I mentioning this? The war that's going on against fats. We have patients with very low levels of fats. What is happening? We can't synthesize this naturally. So we need to consume fats, but they should be good ones. The nervous system is made of fat. So we also need to have a bit of judgment and discern how far certain commercial interests are going. I'm a total fan of vitamin D, and you can tell. Why? Because vitamin D is actually not a vitamin. It's going to be called a hormone. It's actually a prohormone that has a huge systemic effect. It's absolutely necessary for a ton of things. It influences cancer infections, psychiatric disorders, autoimmune diseases, as you can see here, cardiovascular risk factors, osteoporosis, and various musculoskeletal pathologies. Why? Because vitamin D is essential for the system I just mentioned, the psychoneuroimmunoendocrine system. So when all of this is lacking vitamin D, it affects its clinical expression. Just seeing it, the drawing, but that's, let's say, a bird's eye view of all the actions that vitamin D has. You can imagine that it's not just calcium in the bones. It has a multisystemic effect. And Jorge has already outlined that earlier. What happens to vitamin D? It has a little key in the nucleus of the cells. What for? To get in and extract information from the DNA. Continuing with the cooking analogy, if DNA is the recipe book, I need to get information and create the things my body needs. It needs vitamin D to read it. It's like the little key, it's like the lock. If I don't have vitamin D, I'm going to lose that ability to extract the information for the body's own recovery. Interestingly, this nuclear receptor is found in almost all the cells of the body. There must be a reason for it. Nature is wise. Vitamin D is a steroid prohormone, which means it comes from fats. And how is vitamin D generated? On one hand, we need cholesterol. Our body needs cholesterol. It's the mother substance. And to activate it, we need sunlight. What happens to us? When I leave my house at 6 a.m., it's night. I go into the office. I'm under the desk lamp. I leave the office. It's 5 p.m. In winter, it's already dark. So I don't get a drop of sunlight. And we live in Spain, which is a sunny place. It's a bit like what they just explained about Finland. And if on top of that, I have a very low-fat diet, my vitamin D won't be produced. So, endogenous synthesis is the main source of vitamin D. If I don't produce it with my own resources, I'll need to take it. So this is a summary of the main functions of vitamin D. Notice that I'm not getting into bones and I'm a rehabilitation specialist because for me, the genetic control of DNA is still much more important. That's a T lymphocyte. I present to you a lymphocyte of the immune system. This poor thing, if you drive it crazy, it'll mess you up because it goes wild. The immune response goes through the roof and generates a lot of inflammation, and the nervous system is made of fat. We need vitamin D for it to function properly. In fact, there are certain neurological diseases where high doses of vitamin D are already having their effects. Omega-3 is something similar. It comes from fats. Omega-3 is present in all cell membranes. It's important that a proper cell membrane not only gives the cell its own identity and allows it to function correctly, but also lets out what it doesn't need and lets in what it does need. And it's also very important, like all fats, the nervous system. What is happening to us now with omega-3? Well, we have a consumption, at least in Spain, that's quite low. Now we consume more white fish than blue fish. And the blue fish we consume is farmed. You can imagine how the food market is with livestock. What they feed the livestock, how the livestock is treated, and the same goes for fish farms. And this trend of fast food and all the junk we eat makes us completely unbalanced. We eat too much processed food with very cheap vegetable oils, which causes omega-6, the friend of omega-3, to be unbalanced. We should have a level between omega-6 and omega-3, roughly omega-6 at 2.3 and omega-3 at 1. How are we doing now? 20 to 1. Omega-6 and omega-3 are essential in a lot of processes. If they're balanced, omega-6 isn't bad, you need to take it, but it has to be balanced. When omega-6 is through the roof, it triggers arachidonic acid, as we mentioned earlier, and inflammation is on the table. Here. In this publication, they say that humans in the past reached a ratio of 1 to 1. In fact, they say that human evolution came about because humans started fishing and eating blue fish, which led to the incorporation of omega-3 into the nervous system, and that's where the intellectual leap came from to our days, which seems to be going down again. The plant foods richest in this, which is alpha-linolenic acid, are flax seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts. Walnuts, mind you, walnuts are with the shell. If we take off the shell, unfortunately, it oxidizes. So it's very convenient to buy the little bag from the mall as it is, but ideally we should crack the walnuts ourselves and use canola oil, of course, one that isn't toxic, obviously. In 2001, bluefish is also a wonderful source of omega-3. The thing is, it's the same story again. It has its own issues because big fish like salmon, tuna, and bonito, which are fatty, are so delicious. What's going on? They're fed up with heavy metals. So we need to try to go for the smaller fish. So sardines, mackerel, anchovies, because we're going to boost our metabolism, not so much junk. By controlling omega-6 at an appropriate ratio, we have structure, protection, and regulation of the cells through its membrane mechanism that we just saw. It's a good anti-inflammatory and promotes the immune system. It regulates the coagulation cascade and the balance of the lipid profile as long as it's balanced. Here you have different oils like sunflower oil, corn oil, sesame oil, peanut oil, and of course our wonderful olive oil.